All right, we are live. What is up, everybody? Aaron the Dog back with Lewis of Norton MMA. We are here with a Monday edition of the UFC Breakdown show, breaking down UFC Vegas 750 or whatever it is. And like the 750th fight night, we have Mackenzie Dern versus Xiaonan in the main event. 5 rounds. Maybe it won't go 5 rounds. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Also going to be covering the Contender Series here. It is Monday. I just watched the weigh-ins and the face-offs myself right before going live, and it did sway me at least on betting one fight. But we'll go through that really quickly and then get into the main show here. But starting with the Contender Series, final week tomorrow night. I might be in the unpopular opinion here. I've really enjoyed the Contender Series a lot, but I'm ready for a break from the Contender Series. It's not by any means the amount of fights. It's the amount of contracts that have gotten signed. Like, it is getting kind of cliche, but to complain about it. But really, there's been a lot of contracts signed, and I mean, they get a very good deal on these contracts, the UFC, and brings in, I think, maybe a few more guys than they're supposed to. I mean, Dana White's bragged about not watching tape of guys before the fights. He's like, I don't watch tape. So whatever you do here, that's how you get on the show. Overall, how do you feel about Contender Series and Contender Series alum? Or do you think it's kind of pointless to have such a blanket opinion since we have guys like Bo Nickal coming on, Michael Morales, who fought a while ago, Mike Davis? I mean, you get some pretty consistent guys also. Man, am I being unfair?
No, I think this is just a steadier way of bringing people in and confirming they are ready for the UFC without just taking a punt. You saw Mike Figlak, for example, like in UFC Paris, take on what's his name?
Ziam. Yeah.
Ziam, that's it. Yeah.
2-1 favorite in that fight.
Do you know what I mean? And he clearly isn't quite ready, in my opinion. So if he fought on something like the Contender Series, I think it would have made sure that he is. You would have seen the level he can fight at. Like these guys this week, this is one of the best.
Like Cartwright and Jose Johnson a couple weeks ago.
I mean, everyone from the UK would have thought Jack Cartwright is 100% ready. He's not. Mm-hmm. He's not.
No.
So
might never be like Mason Jones.
Yeah, he might be that tweener, too good for regional, not quite good enough for the UFC. So then that's what other promotions are for, you know?
Yeah, but we're going to go through that really quickly. We're going to go through the Contender Series fights really quick. I am the one who taped him a little bit more than Lewis, but Lewis was able to go through, has particular knowledge on Patterson, for example, who we'll definitely talk about when we get there. I'll just go through these fights. It won't go too quick, but we'll go pretty quickly through them because we do have 13 other fights. Starting at 135, Ashik Ajim versus Matthias Mandanka, the Brazilian taking on the fighter out of Long Island MMA in New York. In Ashik Ajim, 6-1 versus 9-0, 23 years old for the Brazilian Bacau here. Matthias, very good fighter, very steady, no amateur experience other than the one fight with SFT. Sometimes they kind of decide to make them amateurs. Other times they decide to make them pro. As a pro, he's faced good records, but not any fighters who I've recognized. Mostly uses his grappling, but has been developing the Muay Thai more and more. Had a quick knockout of a debuting fighter before beating Pedro Nobre in his last fight. Hasn't fought in nearly 2 years, though. Definitely my concern. He's the guy who can go a little bit longer into fights, but he does have some first-round finishes. Ajim, definitely a guy who I'm very, very excited for coming into this fight. I was excited when I saw the tape, honestly, and his foundational style, it's Thug Jitsu. So he's out of the Ryan Flair, out of I'm blanking on the other guy's name right now. Eve Edwards. Eve Edwards, not Eve Levine. Much better than Edwards than Eve Levine. Eve Levine, one of the worst refs of all time. But Ashik Ajim, 3 straight wins since gassing out against Chris Moutinho in that fight. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's what you're going to hear about him a lot coming in. Fortunately, with the time that we're doing this at today, I was able to watch the weigh-ins. Ajik looked fantastic in terms of weighing in. He weighed in 135.5. Cheeks were not sunk in at all. He wasn't overly shredded. So just things I like to see. His last 3 fights, they've been quick finishes over not great guys. And you know, Azavitar Batar, that was a title fight. He went in there and he caught him on that first takedown with that guillotine. I mean, it was the way he was going to be attacked for that fight. So it would have been nice to see a little bit more than, you know, a 30-second knockout, 30-second knockout, and a 45-second knockout over 2-6, 6-4, and 8-6. Again, the Chris Moutinho fight, he was winning it, but his cardio did fall off a cliff in that one. I personally, you know, am not going to overreact to it because other than that, I mean, with CES, he's looked very, very good regional scene. But he's basically only been there. As an amateur, went undefeated as well, other than one fight against Dave Del Vecchia, which I was able to watch, and it was a weird majority decision. This is one where I think that the overall better fighter is Matthias, the Brazilian here. But this is kind of a contender series kind of upset for me because I do think Ashik Ajim early on, he has the power to finish this fight. I do think he's been working on the cardio, but I think we get to the odds, and right now, Mandanka, last I checked, was -3, I think 320, and just to me, there's neither fighter should be that in this case. He was at -330 when I got my bet in at +230 on Ashik Ajim. Now he's down to -265, +205 on Ajim. So still big favorite on the Brazilian. I think most people who've looked into this fight expect a tough first round, and then after that for Mandanka to kind of take over. I'm going to take Ajim in this fight. I do think that overall, frame-wise, he's got a pretty good advantage on his opponent. And again, I think he can get the finish early or possibly win a decision by avoiding the ground here. So I'm going to go with Ajim. Upsets have been nearly 50-50 in this season of the Contender Series, and this one I like myself. So I looked into that one much more than most, so I talked about it way more than you'll have to say here. But any thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, the first thought for me was, what's the layoff going to look like for Matthias? A couple years, that's, you know, coming into almost a fight of your career at this point, because a lot of people don't get a second chance, especially at the big time. The opponents, in my opinion, for Ajim haven't been that great. Chris Moutinho, you can say, okay, he had a couple fights in the UFC, but he got battered in them. You know, it's not. He wasn't the level. So losing to someone that also isn't the level doesn't do a lot for me. My initial reaction is Matthias Mandanka has way more technical skills and a bigger toolkit to kind of implement his will. But as you say, I haven't looked into the weigh-ins, and you have. And if you see someone drained and someone looking fresh, ready for it, as you say, the Contender Series nerves rattle people with this. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Matthias has bright blue hair. I don't know if that makes you feel better or worse. And of the two, you look at him and Matthias is shredded. I don't know if that's necessarily the good thing or not. I always like to see a guy who's a little bit less impressive looking at weigh-ins. They're all in shape. I don't need you to be in a bodybuilding shape. But either way, taking a small shot on the dog here. I'm not telling anybody to go overboard. I think he's got a power advantage. I like this being in the States. I like he has fought within the last 2 years. Those are just all things that are going to give me the dog here at 135. Next fight is at 125. I think this is a very close fight, very high level, probably the highest level of the night. Raphael Hamos Estevam versus Elias. Sorry if I butchered either one of these names. This one is one I'm not going too crazy on myself. Elias has been struggling to make weight in his last 17-3-1. So 21 fights for the 27-year-old. He's 5'3", so he's on the shorter end of Jill Ribeiro team. The weigh-ins, though, are concerned. 3 fights ago, weighed in at 126.8. That's a miss. Then he weighed in at 126, made it. Again, first round finishes in these fights, mostly by submission. The last 3, all by submission. And then last fight, 129.6. He did make weight today, so that's good. But how much are these cuts affecting Xiao is my real question here. Was put away by a pretty nasty knee last August against a 21-6 opponent. Fought to a draw with Bruno Correa there, where he really started to slow down late. He does throw very hard, but for the most part, he's throwing to get into kind of the grappling range. He can be submitted himself. I just think that Raphael is just much better, more polished. He's longer, larger. He should be better in this spot, but it could get pretty chaotic. Novo Union, which continues to look really good, had a very impressive ground and pound finish of Felipe Estevez in the last fight, who is a fellow undefeated fighter with LFA, has experience in the States. So I'll go with Esteban here. I just think he's better. Technically, can catch his opponent in a submission or can knock him out or win a decision. So it should be Raphael, but it's a pretty volatile fight. So not going too crazy here, but I'll take Raphael.
Yeah, with the way these fights play out as well, I think Elias' style is made for a first round or bust. With Ramos, like he's very good on the counter striking, and he just exposes those errors really well. And with this series as well, this is your one chance. He comes out the gate and he swings and hits him. Great, he's got the contract. If he misses, he's gassed round 2, and you've got to see a devastating knockout from Raphael. So, I was on Esteban as well.
Yeah, minus 200. I think this is a good spot as a favorite. A couple of these other minus 200 favorites, I'm a little worried about. Mandanka, I mentioned with Ajim. A little similar with Elias. I mean, he's going to have to deal with a very difficult, dangerous first round. I think after that could really go towards Raphael. But again, double the amount of fights for Xiao here. That's something you like to see for sure. Should be a good one at 125. Next fight, 145. This is one that I definitely have a lean, but after the weigh-ins, I'm a little more nervous for sure. I really like Jack Jenkins a lot. I'll get to right to the point. Freddie Linares, though, these guys fight in very similar ways. They both like to really take the fight to their opponent, take some offense on. Their defense is a lot of times kind of their toughness and their will to break their opponents. I think both these guys are going to really come at each other. I think Jack's going to have to be the much more technical guy, using the leg kicks as he's starting to show he's willing to do, because I do think with the bigger guy, he's going to have to actually use the distance in Jack. Jack's much smaller here. A little bit worried after seeing the weigh-ins because there is a significant frame difference here, but 9-2, 6 straight wins for the Australian featherweight, 5'7" out of Absolute MMA. He's had his eyes on the UFC for a while here, which I really like. Had a fight scheduled just because he didn't want to wait for the Contender Series. Informed the guy who was fighting that most likely if I get Contender Series spot, I'm out of here. So he's been training with this awareness. I like that. So that fight with Justin Van Herden that was canceled, I'm not too worried about it. I like that he had a fight coming up, so it shows he was in shape, shows he was staying focused. Again, had a unanimous decision win over Rod Costa in the last one. That was back in March, really to stay sharp. Before that, the leg kick finish of Jason Petropoulos. Not great levels of competition, though. Jesse Bundina even. He did get the revenge, though, from that fight. He lost that fight early on to Medina and came back, showed he really had grown from that fight. So I like that. The Diego Pereira fight, really impressive finish there. It's just the level of competition with Hex and Eternal that hasn't been great. Been fighting over in that region as well. First fight in the States. We saw a fighter a few weeks ago from this region come over and kind of get blitzed and barbecued a little as well. Not just saying that all fighters, but you never know till they really make that trip over. He looked to be in good shape, but Freddie Linares, the Predator, he looked like a predator at the weigh-ins, man. And I'm not just making my picks based on weigh-ins or anything, but he towered over Jack. He is significantly bigger. You saw when they squared off. You saw after as they were holding their arms up. there's a significant difference in the reach. I do think that could be the Jack's advantage because I do think that Jack can kind of stay on the outside with the leg kicks, blitz when he needs to, maybe get the takedowns. I don't think Linares has a great deal to give off his back, but dude's a battler. Definitely, can go to the distance. Most of his fights with QFC and Budo Sento Championship, though. Fighting good level of competition. Miguel Gonzalez was a fun fight to watch. Wasn't able to watch these other fights, however, and he does seem to keep a good pace. Doesn't have that impressive knockout ability, so I think he does kind of overwhelm his opponents with his pace and his overall damage here. I am going with Jack. Got a little bit scared when I saw the weigh-ins, though, man, because Linares is massive. Looks like 1 or 2 weights ahead of Jack. Maybe I'm overrating that, and you can call me down here, but I like Jack here. I think he minds his distance, so to speak. Could be a decision, but I'll take Jack.
Do you remember in the Demetrius Johnson Ultimate Fighter where Kai Kara fought the guy that was about 5'11" for flyweight?
Yeah.
And he knocked him out in like 30 seconds. I think it could be similar. I think Jack Jenkins is quite a pit bull of a guy, like getting inside. If Freddie doesn't know how to use the range, it's irrelevant anyway. I haven't seen him kind of
usually doesn't.
Shots.
Usually fights pretty close.
Exactly. So, I think that favors the power shots of Jenkins, to be honest, and how fast he comes out the gates. I think Jack Jenkins has got this one.
Okay. Would you parlay it at minus 2.5?
No.
So originally I was thinking about doing the Estevez, Jenkins, Patterson trio. That's what I was thinking of doing, not to get ahead to that fight. But I like Sam Patterson over Vinicius Sensi as well. In that fight, my worry with Patterson is the tall man defense that is eventually going to bite him. Vinicius is mostly a grappler. Doesn't look to particularly have a lot of striking skills. I think it's kind of a grappling type of fight. I actually like the British fighter to, tap the Brazilian here and Patterson. But, either way, I like Patterson in that fight. I like Jenkins in this fight. Jenkins minus 250, Patterson minus 225. What are your thoughts on Patterson and Sensi?
Yeah, I like the tall man vibes. I mean, all I'll say about Sam is he's fought ridiculously high level of competition over at Brave.
Yeah.
Like the competition he's been fighting, I think a lot of those guys will be really successful in the UFC.
Great.
And he's beaten them up and then choked them out. He's 6'4" as a lightweight.
And didn't look sucked out at the weigh-ins, by the way.
No, he's got an amazing camp between him. I mean, he's best mates with John Gooden. So John Gooden's almost in his corner at this point as well. He trains at Crossface as well. So, no, I mean, Sam knows what this is going to happen. It's a one-dimensional. Vinicius is completely one-dimensional. He's going to be fully prepared for that. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if you see it like a knee up the middle kind of uppercuts. A lot of trying to create that space and then just breadbasket with a knee, It's that sort of fight for Sam. And then as he drops, there's no reason he can't snatch your neck and roll because I said to you, if he gets your neck and rolls or he just touches you with his forearms are literally like knives. Mm-hmm. And he just squeezes. He's got some squeeze. So
Patterson by finish is a spot we like here inside the distance.
I mean, the only person he hasn't finished in recent memory is Darun, and Darun was getting beaten up that whole fight, and It was a clear, decisive win for Sam in that. So, yeah, I think he's going to do some real damage to Vinicius. I think he'll finish him.
All right. Well, I'm going to be playing the Sam inside the distance. I do think the KO is live. Probably going to play that number. Just hope he doesn't go for the grappling. Maybe a ground and pound finish here, but
if he embraces the grappling, it could be a lot more even than it needs to be.
And then obviously we got Bo Nickal submission round 1 over Donovan Beard. Donovan Beard's had his back taken in 3 of his fights. Bo Nickal gets your back. It's not being relinquished. So to the plays I have Ashik Ajim straight up at plus 230. I think he can finish. I also think he can possibly get a decision, actually, more than a lot of people seem to think. Estevez I have over Xiao, but I think Xiao is very live. I like Jack over Freddie Linares. I like Sam Patterson as well. So for me, I am going to take a shot at the Jack Sam of parlay as well, and then
Nice.
Bo Nickal by submission. So gonna move on now to the actual card. That was a little bit longer than I was anticipating, so I apologize for that. But I'll be honest, there's going to be a lot of fights on this card that we're not going to have a lot of nice things to say about, and therefore, when you don't have anything nice to say, you don't say anything at all. We're on to the UFC Fight Night portion of the card. It's headlined by Mackenzie Dern and Xiaonan. So if you think that the card is just full of like non-questionable fights, you haven't been paying attention. But here we go. We're going to be starting with 13 fights. We're starting at the bottom at the prelims with a fight at 115 that is a stake fight, in my opinion, because I don't think this is going to be a very exciting fight. I think we're going to see low striking numbers in this one. We have Jessica Penne taking on Tabitha Ricci at 115. Yeah. I don't have a lot to say about this one other than if you're lining up to go to the window at the price that Tabitha Ricci's on, you're insane. There is plenty of scenarios where Jessica Penne gets a split decision or unanimous decision type of, kind of scrambling, grappling affair, even though she's almost 40 years old. Tabitha Ricci doesn't really throw much more than a 1-2 on the feet. So if it is primarily on the feet, you could see kind of the 5 pumps jabs of Jessica Penne against like Tabitha Ricci's very, inaccurate 1-2 type of fight shots. Mm-hmm. Tabitha Ricci's not fought a great level of competition so far in her career. Before the UFC, it's a joke. During the UFC, not that great either. Jessica Penne, she could steal this one. More likely than not, maybe it's just like Ricci kind of hanging out in top position for 15 minutes and winning decision. But, man, this is bad. I don't know. I'll take Jessica Penne by decision. I'll take a shot just based on the price, but I'm not putting $1 on it.
What is the price?
Right now, Tabitha Ricci is, I think, well over let's see. She is now, I'm getting it up. Tabitha Ricci is a minus 225 favorite, plus 180 on Jessica Penne. So nearly to my magic mark of the plus 200 to bet on low-level women MMA. It's not quite there yet, so I just pass. Jessica Penne, split decision.
Yeah, I mean, it's got it kind of written all over. I don't think Penne is actually that bad still. I think she's still that bottom level, but
yeah, is Ricci good at all?
That's the thing.
Ricci's very marketable.
Yeah, she's the thing is I don't know. In the UFC, she hasn't blown me away yet. Getting finished by Furo isn't that bad, but winning the next 2 is good. She's riding kind of a little bit of momentum, hence and obviously Penne's age kind of always plagues betting because people think, is she done yet? Is she done yet? And the people, she beat Karolina Kowalkiewicz, which isn't saying much at the moment. So, and she got a dodgy win over Lupita. So, no, I think Ricci should be the favorite. I'm going with Ricci as well by decision. I think she can just grind her and wear her around, wear 2 rounds out. I think it'll be a 29-28 kind of like classic low-level women's MMA fight. The only thing I will say is thank God it's the first fight of the card.
Yeah, and it's like I do agree it could be a fight where Ricci wins, but the judges just don't know and just give it to Penne because she threw more. Like you're gonna have like 5 significant strikes to like 7 in a round. Yeah. So it's just like, and maybe some scrambling and weird cage control. Penne, had so. Yep. Yeah, you don't want anything to do with it. It's a gross one. Pass on that. Next fight of the night. 265, we've got the 39-year-old versus the 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. I don't know how old he is anymore. It's Alexei Olynyk, and I picked Jared Vanderbilt last time against him. So
what did I call you?
An idiot, I think, or something. You're right.
I couldn't believe you picked Jared Vanderbilt.
Yeah, and here we are again. Alexei, I thought that was his last fight. Alexei's like, I want to fight till I'm 60. Or something. I think he said 60, 16-1. No signs of slowing down here. 15-8 again. OLeary, Latifi, the sledgehammer here. Yeesh. He's 39 years old. He's 5'10", 75-inch reach. He's coming off of that split decision against Tanner Boser. That was nothing too notable. Before that, went the distance against Derek Lewis. Got knocked out by Volkan Ozdemir at 205. Gassed out against Corey Anderson. He's never been submitted before. I don't think he has a neck to be submitted. I think that's how you beat Alexei Olynyk when you're not good. So I'm going to do it again, but I'm betting against Alexei Olynyk. I get all the numbers. I get all the submissions. Here's my only thing is Alexei Olynyk, this is the scary part, might have the cardio advantage here. And if this fight goes deep, if OLeary is not able to finish him early, then what happens? Does Olynyk grind out a decision? Because does he have the better cardio here? This gets so bad if OLeary doesn't finish him early. And I just don't see Olynyk getting finished early. I don't see Latifi winning a decision. I don't see Alexei getting a submission. I know that sounds crazy to say. Alexei Olynyk decision.
All right, that's a bet. Alexei
that's his bet, decision. And that's my pick. I mean, how do you submit a guy with no neck?
I mean, it's true. I mean, what's Ilia Latifi good for? The sledgehammer, right? He hasn't knocked anyone out since 2016.
Yeah, and he's like, I mean, it's just in Olynyk, from what I hear from Olynyk, he doesn't have like his eyes on like retirement anytime soon. So he's he's gonna fight through that first shot or two. He almost beat Derek Lewis. I know we all kind of forget this.
Oh yeah. Derek was close, man. He felt
right, but
he said how uncomfortable he was.
How you submit Latifi?
I think he's got more than just an Ezekiel from bottom.
Well, it's got to be
he will snap I reckon he'll Americana or Kimura him.
Okay,
I reckon
so
he'll snap
arm attack. So I think he'll break his arm. Choke out Latifi.
Everyone's got a neck. Everyone's got a
Latifi.
Neck.
He literally does. Well,
if he shaved the beard, you might see more of it.
I checked. There's no neck on the heavyweight Latifi.
If anyone's going to find it, it's Alexei. I think it's an Alexei win. I think this is the level Alexei beats all the time. I think Ilar is tough as nails when it comes to strikes. Like he can take a beating, but he's not going to survive an arm break. Like I just think he's not that difficult to take down. Olynyk's got great judo. I just think it's rush in, clinch up, Tai Toshi.
Yeah, I couldn't go against him. I couldn't go against Olynyk here.
Yeah, I back Olynyk every time, and I will on this one.
All right, Olynyk by joint submission. I got him by decision, which I don't want to see an Olynyk decision because, man, that's going to be bad. Plus 145, Alexei Olynyk, people. We almost have a 2-1 favor on OLeary Latifi. Are you crazy?
Olynyk.
That's crazy. Let's go, Olynyk. Olynyk plus money. You're going to... It's like that meme.
That'll put him on a win streak.
I don't know if I know. This is what we do with Olynyk. We get on these win streaks. I don't know if you know the meme where it's like, "Oh God, you're gonna make me," and it's like the porn clip where she's like, "You're gonna make me," "Oh God, you're gonna make me bet on Olynyk." That's what the odds makers are doing right now. So God,
love it.
Olynyk by decision is my pick, but I hope I'm wrong. I can't believe I'm doing that. Just because I think he has the better gas of Latifi. I think that's the significant difference between Latifi and Olynyk. I think Olynyk has the gas and always can kind of surprise with those weird shovel shots at the end of rounds and stuff. So, gross one. It doesn't get less gross, guys. And I don't care. You can go somewhere else and they'll talk about every fight's beautiful, whatever. These are some nasty fights. Maxime Grecian versus Felipe Lins should be in PFL 3 years ago because that's where these guys were relevant. Now we have to do this in the UFC with USADA and just all sorts of shit that makes these guys so much worse. 205, this is
Speaking of Maxime Grecian's opponents, though, I would love to have seen William Knight without USADA.
Oh, my God. Put William Knight in Japan and just be done with it, man.
He's like a miniature Bob Sapp.
Put him in super heavyweight in Japan. I don't want to see him anymore. Yeah. Put him over there. Felipe Lins won $1 million with the PFL a few years ago. Did you know that?
Yeah, I watched it.
He's a millionaire. this man, and he had fought. And there's an album by 50 Cent called "Get Rich or Die Trying."
Yeah.
What Felipe Lins did is got rich and stopped trying. So,
Yeah.
but he's still here, 37 years old now, back down at light heavyweight. He's on a 1-fight winning streak, scintillating performance against Marcin Prachnio, where we all know every time Prachnio gets punched, he shrivels up and gets upset. Couldn't finish him, but Lins, in all seriousness, looked pretty good, looked to use his grappling once again, finally, which was good to see. But it's Marcin Prachnio. He is against Grecian here, though. Before that, lost to Tanner Bozer and Andrei Arlovsky. Won $1 million for beating Josh Copeland, for God's sakes, and Jared Rosholt. I mean, God, what I'd do to win $1 million that way. Lins is just not very good. He needs to rely on the grappling. Otherwise, I think stand-up wise, he's going to have a lot of trouble with kind of the volume and the pace of Grecian. Grecian also just throws more than just sloppy hooks. But Grecian 32-9-2, so he's 41 fights in, 38 years old, 38-37. This is a combined 75 years old here. So you're not wanting to run to, and 205 is just so bad. Either one of these guys winning, it wouldn't shock me. That William Knight performance, William Knight just embarrassed himself. Absolutely. And, it's just like.
Had that dad at 5,000 gas tank, didn't he?
Yeah. And I hate to do this, but of course I have a dog here to be picked up. So if you want to move on, do you want to move on to the next fight or talk about this fight for a minute?
No, you can move on, dude. I'm picking Grecian. I think Grecian's going to knock him out.
So. Yeah, I think Grecian knocks him out as well. So, yeah, let's move on. Go ahead and cue up Joaquin Silva and Jesse Ronson. I'll be right back.
More of these ones, isn't it?
2 seconds, but man, the start of this card is nasty.
Is indeed. Jesse Ronson at 36 years old now, and you got Joaquin Silva at 33. I mean, some of these fights are just getting a bit silly now. Lins is getting lensed. Yeah, he is. I think Philippe Lens is getting knocked out pretty bad, but Grecian's counter hooking style anyway. He's got some power still. He's not that bad. I mean, he's only lost twice in recent years, hasn't he? So he's on a decent win streak. But yeah, I mean, Jesse Ronson, when you start with Jesse Ronson, I mean, he's just lost to Rafa Garcia. Had a no contest against Nicholas Dalby, if you remember. Although he did get the choke. So the level of competition he's been fighting is not great since he came from the PFL. Like, Nicholas Dalby is what he is. He's got a good record on paper, but you can see, his level isn't quite there. Rafa Garcia, same thing. I mean, he lost to Rafa Garcia as well. So he got choked out pretty bad by the guy that's nicknamed Gifted. He's just lost, obviously, to Drakkar Close. So was Ronson on steroids. I mean, you tell me. I mean, you look at the size of him and, like, you see the veins. He could be on something. A lot of these guys look like they're on something. No comment, Your Honor, with that one. But Joaquin Silva, on the other hand, guys, he's just looking at grapple, in my opinion. He's been practicing grappling so much recently. He was on Fury Pro, I think. Who's it? Neil Magny. He guillotine choked Neil Magny when his whole career he's been the counter striker. So Joaquin Silva on this one is just looking to. Is he looking to try and choke Jesse Ronson for this one? In my opinion, I don't know, because Ronson's easily chokeable. He's won by rear naked choke. He's lost by rear naked choke. He's got a lot of questionable split decision losses. I just think this is like a perfect matchup in records and questionability of actually how good are these guys. It's a really bizarre card for those sort of ones. What's that, Justin? The UFC is always so thoughtful, worrying about us and not just giving us so real good fights. Heart's easy and slow coming back with these slow level fights to wing us back. Yeah, I mean, this is a fight card where you'd like to see USADA not show up, because then it would make the fights more exciting. I think, not that they're dead, because I love Alexei Olynyk, so that fight's not dead for me personally, but that's a personal level. But I would argue that probably the first 5 fights are dead fights. They better show up and really bring it, because Jesse Ronson, with a loss here, he'll just get cut. Like, no doubt, he'll get cut immediately. Joaquin Silva, he lost to Ricky Glenn and got knocked out, remember, by Nasrat Hakparas, that left hand. Just shut him off I mean, he's had a fair few fights since the Ultimate Fighter, hasn't he? When he beat Holbrook, he lost to Vince Pichel. That was a good fight, competitive fight for a little bit, but Pichel's just, I don't know, he's like the best unranked guy in the division, I would argue. So, I mean, I don't know who Aaron's going to pick in this one, but my money would say Joaquim Silva, as he's fought better guys, but he's a bit chinny. Jesse Ronson's a bit choky. So it depends who you'd rather go for in that one. I mean, I don't know who everyone else is going for, but I think I'd pick Silva in that one. There's no way I would ever trust Jesse Ronson with any form of bet, especially when the next fight after is Julia Stolyarenko. Trying to say that name really quick. Against Chelsea Chandler. I mean, that's these names as well. You got a Cesar Gracie lady versus the lady out of Fighter House, and Chelsea's on that good little streak as well. Ronson, this should be a third fight going to close main event. You're going Ronson, Justin. You're putting money on it, or you just like he's your pick? Because if you put money on that, I'd be surprised. I mean, it should be fight of the night because they're probably both quite evenly matched, to be honest. Like the matchmaking is there. They both shouldn't be in the UFC, but based on how many events the UFC need to put on every year now, I can understand why they still keep these guys around or give them chances or just call them up to replace certain fighters, because the amount of cards they have to do, that means there's going to be a lot of pullouts throughout the year. Silva should win. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that one. There you go. You can make a pick before moving on to the next stake fight.
Yeah, sorry.
I think I've covered Silva and Ronson enough. But
I'm sorry. I love when a client says 2 minutes away and then they're 5 minutes away. Yeah, I'll take Joaquim Silva.
Good. That matches my descriptions perfectly.
Who the fuck knows? Jesse Ronson just isn't very good, especially when he's not on the sauce. Speaking of not good, we have another stake fight here. Sorry, there's a lot of stake fights on this card. And Julia Stolyarenko is still unranked at bantamweight. Go look at the bantamweight division, and you'll see how hard it is to be unranked at bantamweight. If your name's not Jessica Rose Clark or Julia Stolyarenko or Chelsea Chandler, but don't worry, this is at 140. You know why it's at 140? Because Chelsea Chandler has a thyroid problem, so she can't quite get down to bantamweight. She probably wants to usually fight at 145. There's nothing wrong with thyroid issues. My mom has one too. I know they're difficult for weight loss and other things. I'm not here to talk about that. But yeah, that's where we're at with this one. Chelsea Chandler is a pretty, I'll say
completely untested.
Yeah, reckless striker. Let's just go through the record real quick of the.
Wait, betting's illegal in California?
What's that?
Justin, betting is illegal in California. I didn't know that.
No, yeah,
you can't bet in some states.
Every state is weird, but yeah, Chelsea Chandler. She's out of Stockton. Fights with Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Is that a good thing? I don't know. 4 straight wins for the 28-year-old since losing to Carrie Kennison in her debut with Invicta. She went on to beat Mitzi Mary, Brittany Victoria, Olivia Parker. Here's a good thing. Those girls are all undefeated. If you know who Olivia Parker is, though, you should not be impressed at all. And if you know who Brittany Victoria is, you should not be impressed at all. And then she faced Courtney King, went to a decision there, was supposed to face Leah Ledson. I mean, Chandler should be able to take this one, in my opinion, but we really don't know how good she is yet. Julia Stolyarenko has a very specific skill. It's arm bars and her judo. She probably can take Chandler down and kind of control her there and probably submit her is her route to victory. If this is on the feet, Chelsea Chandler, I think, wins a gross decision.
This is a grapple fight. Nah, this is a grapple fight.
Yeah, I don't know.
It depends if Chelsea's got a good bottom game, because Julia's going to be looking to get that top game pressure.
Yeah, I'll take Julia, I guess.
She's fought better people. I mean, Jessica Rose Clark isn't very good either, so that win doesn't really do much. But she has fought some good people. Davis, Kunitskaya, she's got some good names on there. Went to decision, outlasted. Chelsea better Stockton slap her. She better do something like that.
Yeah, Chelsea Chandler. I don't love the thyroid issues. I don't love the lack of experience all the way around. Minus 105. Julius Orenko is minus 115. So this is like
It's a pick'em, more or less.
it's a pick'em from the odds.
Jesus.
That tells you how good Julius Orenko is, right there. So
tells you what happens when you put a Diaz in the corner or the trainer.
I don't know. I mean, Chelsea Chandler.
Well, Nick Maximov was like such a favorite in all this stuff.
Right, and well, he won a few at least, so it shows they know how to manage their fighters at least. Next fight, this one's I think one of the better fights on the card. Brendan Allen versus Christoph Jocko here. Brendan Allen, man, there was a time where I really thought Brendan Allen was one of those guys at middleweight who was gonna make a run to the rankings, certainly their rankings, and definitely maybe to a title, contender at some point. And then Sean Strickland happened, and that really definitely, took away a lot of what I was hoping. 5-fight money parlay, Zhongli, I'll get that for you. But yeah, Christoph Jocko, these guys are kind of like polar opposites of each other because with Brendan Allen, he's all in. He's Brendan Allen. He's going to finish or get finished. He's a good striker, good grappler out of Kill Cliff now. He's really been working on striking more. Should rely on his grappling a little more. And then Jocko, decision machine, just doesn't finish anybody, but just out wrestled Gerald Mearshart in his last fight. I mean, and out grappled him. And who saw that coming? I mean,
not me.
Jocko's really good, man. He's way better than people want to admit. He's 33 years old out of Poland, does not have the Polish power, but he's just well-rounded. He does everything well. He does nothing really particularly bad. 2 straight wins, 24-5. The Serkinov fight was really weird. It was bad. Honestly, that was just like, ugh. Like he just struck and Serkinov wouldn't. He out-wrestled Mearshart. Both of them lost to Strickland in pretty similar types of ways by allowing the pressure to overrun them. The Anders fight was really good. There was the Andre Barrio fight. Alan Abdadovsky wasn't able to finish. That's my, problem.
He did beat him up.
He did beat him up, but he's just not going to finish anybody. I mean, since
do you know he's got 16 UFC fights?
Yeah, exactly. And in those 16 fights, he's got 11 decisions, 12 decisions, something like that.
Something like that. He's lost 5 of them as well. So he's got a good record.
Yeah, he's does expose these guys. And Brendan Allen, 2 straight wins as well. Louisiana, he's been all over the place. Train, beat Jacob Malkoun in the last fight. That's a very encouraging win for me. It did kind of show me a little bit, but he had his moments in that fight for sure. And I'm not sure if he really won that fight personally. So definitely a win, but not at all kind of distinguishing some of my worries. Beat Sam Alvey, whatever. Chris Curtis, the pressure.
I think we'd all beat Sam Alvey right now.
Yeah, the pressure beat him, and, we all know there. This is a really interesting fight. It's a close one, but for me, it's a one where I just think Jocko is so much more well-rounded and better at blending the 2 skills. I think he's going to have Brendan Allen pretty frustrated and kind of reaching a lot of his strikes. I think he's good enough to avoid the takedowns and the grappling of Allen, which is, I think, where Allen has the biggest advantage. And I think Jocko just kind of kickbox him to a decision win. Jocko, unanimous decision for me.
100%. Do you know what he is? He's like Dustin Jacoby. They're very similar fighters, him and Jocko. But yeah, I mean, I think Brendan Allen, as you would refer to, I think he's wolf tickets now. I don't think he's going to be ranked ever, really. Yeah.
I think this is the type of guy that just frustrates Brendan, too. I really like this spot for Jocko. Honestly, I consider him for, part of that 5-piece moneyline parlay, Zhongli, to be honest with you, because you're getting him at a great price here. Minus 115 to minus 105. They have this at a pick 'em. I disagree. I think that Jocko should be a pretty significant favorite. I don't see Brendan being able to catch him in the strikes, and grappling wise, I think they're going to be able to cancel each other out pretty well. I think Jocko defensively is sharp enough. So minus 115 Jocko, one of my favorite spots on the card so far. Give me him in the second from the top on the prelims. Back to the steak fight. My God, I'm sorry. I know that if this is your first time watching me, you probably think I hate the UFC because I'm making fun of like every matchup. But We have Randy Costa versus Guido Canetti, for God's sakes. This is bad. This is really bad after the first round. After the first round, this is like not a fight. Who wants to watch this fight after the first round? We better hope someone gets them out of there in the first. Whether it's Randy or Guido, both guys fall off a cliff after the first round. Guido showed he still got it in him in the last fight at 43 years old now, 9-6. He was signed at 36 anyways. The Argentinian showed he still had it against Chris Moutinho, who we talked about on the Contender Series breakdown a minute ago. Knocked him out clean. Absolutely connected, shows he still has that power, still has that X factor. And Randy Costa, I'm not all that sold on. Guido before that, a split decision against Mano Martinez. Got knocked out by Botchero, and then Marlon Vera choked him out, but he beat Marlon Vera in the first round. If you can beat Marlon Vera in the first round within the last 5 years, I think you can give Costa some issues. And after the first round, are we saying Costa survives the first round and then wins a decision necessarily? Guido's going to find a way to win this fight, whether it's knocking him out in the first round or winning a really gross decision. Give me Guido here. Randy Costa is wolf tickets, my friend. 6-3, coming off that fight against Xiaonan, and then absolutely decimated against Tony Kelly. And we saw how bad Tony Kelly is. I'd pick Guido Canetti against Tony Kelly. So give me Guido Canetti, catch him early and put him away. KO. Randy has no chin.
I like that. I was not sure who to pick for this one at all. You sold it to me.
Yeah.
Like, there was in my head, I'm going, am I really going to pick Guido Canetti right now?
Yes.
I think so. I think it's the old man card, isn't it?
He's got that power.
And he's chinny. Randy Costa is, you touch him, he does fall down. So, I mean, he hasn't beaten anybody.
Guido Canetti's going to knock out Randy Costa, and we're going to have a CES co-main event of Chris Moutinho versus Randy Costa by next year. Like, that's Guido is a plus 240 underdog, minus 300 on Randy Costa. Who in the world is cashing a who's paying for a minus 300 ticket on Randy Costa? I get if you're picking him, fine, congratulations. If you're paying minus 300, in the words of Michael Jordan, stop, get some help. Like, because that is bad. You have a gambling addiction and you need help, and you're ruining your family. Whoever you are, I'm telling you that right now. You need me to tell you that? Fine. We're on to the main card. Good Lord, that is one of the worst prelims I can ever remember. Costa gets the KO. That's fine. Like, that's KO one way or the other. As long as someone finishes, if that goes to a boring ass decision, both guys are out the UFC. You don't want the third round of Guido Canetti and Randy Costa. It's going to be two guys hands on their knees, hugging for the first 30 seconds so they don't have to fight for 5 minutes. Bad news there. On to the main card. I'm pumped about this fight. This is a good one, even though it's on short notice here. Guy I really like, Mike Davis. He's got super exciting fights. He took Gilbert Burns on super short notice to get into the UFC, so respect there. He was supposed to fight over in England, and then he learned about how much of the taxes are taken out of his fight when you go over there as an American. He's like, oh, we have to pay taxes in England and here on that? No, I'm good. So
same as when British fighters go to America.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome to international fighting, sir.
And so he decided, I'm not fighting anywhere internationally. I'm waiting until you give me a fight in the States. So that is, I know personally, because I am
way to market yourself, mate.
I am friends with Mike Davis as well. I do know that is why he wasn't taking the fight. Better than not take the fight for that, then my body's broken. I need a couple more weeks so that this ligament can heal. Because, I mean, I don't know if you knew against what Mike Davis was fighting with against Mason Jones, but had like a torn rotator cuff, like 3 different problems. So, like, I'd rather have him taken some time off to recover is my point here. Now he's in a really interesting fight against Vladislav Borshkov. You know who Slava Klaus is. You know where he's been. He's been at Team Alpha Male for the last 2 years now, trying to learn how to wrestle, a.k.a. trying to learn how to get up from getting taken down. He's not going to be shooting for takedowns anytime soon.
World class. He's not that bad, like, defensively with takedowns.
No, but it's more how good he is on the feet. That's how good he is on the feet.
Yeah.
He is a world-class striker. Both these guys are world-class strikers. pro-level boxers. Slava Claus, K1 kickboxing champion as well. Still only 30 years old, even though he looks 40. Lost his last fight out to Mark Diakase. Diakase fought brilliantly.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's exactly Mike Davis just needs to watch that fight on replay. Fight that way.
Can Mike Davis do that? Because Mark's been learning wrestling for about 3.5 years.
I'd say that Mark.
Properly.
I'd say if I had a guy I would point out that's like Mike Davis, I would say Mark Diakase is one of the first fighter comparisons I'd have to him. Down to how much Mike Davis has been working on the wrestling. This is the spot where we see it though, because if it's a striking affair, we're going to see what Slava did to Chris Duncan. We're going to see a very close, competitive first round. Slava kind of downloading Slava Claus, just what he calls himself, Slava Borishov. So he just decided to go with Slava Claus because I think after a fight he wore his Santa hat. But, what we saw, you see him download the shots. We saw with the Dakota Bush fight. Dakota Bush was going to come in there and take him down, but you got to stand with Slava at first because if you just go straight for the takedowns, there's going to be knees, there's going to be shots that you're going to have to pay for as a wrestler. So you have to set it up. So early on, we're going to see, the stand up. I think that Mike Davis is a willing striker as well. That could get him into trouble in this spot. He cannot be too willing. He has to be willing to strike early, but then I think he's got to turn on the wrestling, turn on the takedowns. Another thing is 3 fights ago, Kenley St. Louis was able to drop Slava as well. So Slava does take those hands down to really defend against the takedowns. Could leave him open for a shot, and Mike Davis does have that kind of power. This is a really great fight. I think it's super close. Slava has been working on the wrestling. Mike Davis has been working on the wrestling as well. One of his main training partners being Rodolfo Vieira for this fight camp. So he's been working on the grappling, been working on, that aspect of things. But yeah, Beast Boy, he's been off for a while. He's been off since that win over Mason Jones in January of 2021. Mason Jones had his entire UFC career happen while Mike Davis has been out. That's how long Mike Davis has been out. So there is that concern here for me. Mike was preparing for Uros Medic, a very different type of striker and different type of test before this. Now he's in a much more technical kickboxing affair. I see Slava having a lot of success, but I think Mike Davis is just going to fight a really smart fight here. I think he's way smarter and better than a lot of people realize. Implements the wrestling and grappling and wins the decision here for me. This is a close fight. Really good one, but give me Mike Davis more ways to win. He's been training. Slava coming into this fight on short notice. I think Mike can pull away as this fight goes on. It's got to be smart, though. Don't get into a striking affair with Slava.
Yeah, I think it's either going to look like the Diakase fight for Mike or the Dakota Bush fight. Dakota was really good for the first couple minutes.
Yes.
He was explosive, powerful, got him down, got into side control, landed some real devastating body shots as well when he was covering up his head. And then he just worked his way back to his feet and just peppered him. And that's when Dakota kind of relaxed. He was like, I can do this. And he fell into that trap of striking. And that's where Slava's good. Yeah, I agree, though. Mike Davis he's fought some ridiculously good competition.
He's really good, yeah.
If he's coming in healthy, training and stuff, like, I think if you're comparing him to Mark Diakase, the reason his wrestling isn't outstanding. It's good. It's a good level now for MMA. It was always bad. Now he showed it in his last fight as well. It's his new game plan to not take damage and win fights. It's smart. It worked because his striking is elite. Mark's striking is so damn good, but he didn't want to take any risk at all. If Mike's smart, he will do what you said. He will set up all the takedowns with his decent striking. I
think he is smart.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, he's smart. I mean, you can't get the wins he's got without being clever. I mean, beating Mason Jones was undefeated at that point.
Yeah.
Mason Jones, even though he's been cut, is very good. I don't care what people say. He's had a rough ride. Yeah, I think Slava's got way better striking. Just from the way he moves, it's just natural for him. But Mike's got way more tools. So as long as Mike doesn't fall into the trap of just this is a straightforward kickboxing fight, he should win a decision, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to finish Borislav, and I think both gas tanks are very good. So it's going to be 15 minutes of high volume.
Yeah, no, I agree. I got Mike to take this one -175. hate the price. I'm surprised. I expect as the week goes on, I think that the money comes in on Slava. I think that there's going to be some bettors that are liking Slava here, so I'd wait to bet on Mike if I were you, and I bet on Slava not plus 150 if you like that side. I like Mike Davis by decision as well here, but glad that fight made the main card.
Do you know what as well? If Borishev does win, I don't think he'll get the credit he deserves for beating Mike Davis because Mike Davis isn't a name yet, but he is. He will be.
Mike Davis, if you can beat him, you're really good.
Yeah, but I don't think he'll get the credit he deserves because Mike Davis isn't known.
Speaking of not getting credit, I don't think Sadiq Youssef gets any credit, and
because my boy killed him, didn't he?
What's that?
Because my boy broke his hand on him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but Sadiq still doesn't get the credit he deserves, in my opinion. He's not going to get after this fight. A more dangerous fight than I think a lot of people realize against shameless Don Shainis here. Don is an animal, man. He goes out and he throws down, man. He fights like a dog. A short notice type of fight here. He can definitely catch Sadiq early and put him away. I will say that much just right off the bat. And I just don't think many people are giving Don a chance. The odds have.
I think his opponents are a bit shaky, though, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, but they definitely are. And that's kind of what I'll get to. 12-3 for Don out of the Massachusetts regional scene, 5 straight wins. The wins not over great guys. He fought Jay Ellis 3 fights ago. If you know who Jay Ellis is, 16-104.
That's it, yeah.
Like Jay Ellis, by the way, went 1-1 with Gerald Meerschaert. Just your fun fact for the day. Jay Ellis has a win over Gerald Meerschaert. The Chris Lincioni fight, he looked so good those first 2 rounds. And that was a fight that Chris Lincioni coming into was on. I was honest on looking for a fight card with FAC, and Dana White was there expecting to sign Lincioni to go on to a Contender Series off of Bellator, good grappler. And Don put it on him those first 2 rounds, man. He did slow down in the 3rd round, and he wasn't able to put him away. Put away Cody Pfister, fought Bryce Pichard. Again, these are just a very low level of guys. Sadiq Youssef should be able to go in there and dispatch of them pretty well. 12-2 Sadiq Youssef was preparing for, what's his name, Giga Chikazia leading into this fight. They're going to re-tee up that fight. That's too good of a fight to leave off. So as long as Sadiq minds his P's and Q's early, he puts it on him. Minus 1,000, I want nothing to do with.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sadiq Youssef's going to murder him. Like, whatever way he wants, to be honest with you, mate. I think Sadiq is very, very good.
It could be a Hernandez situation. That's all I'm saying.
I mean,
once upon a time on short notice, Hernandez beat Beneil Dariush. The only way that happens is in a scenario like this where he has no time, comes in on short notice, and throws caution and win for 3 minutes. Don fights
same as Adriano Martins on Islam. A similar way.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that. Okay. It's MMA.
I'll just say this though. Arnold Allen broke his hand, and he said his head felt like a kettlebell.
Yeah.
Like you have to take him down and beat him. I think with Sadiq, and his wrestling is just phenomenal nowadays.
Right.
The level he's fought and beaten.
He's been a favorite in every single one of his UFC fights for a reason.
Yeah, I mean he is a beast. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of Don. I gave him a couple. I gave a couple of his fights to watch, and he just looked like he's fighting people that work at the pub. So to me, it's not like wow. He hasn't blown me away. He's got a couple great KOs recently, which is obviously why he's been picked for this. But no, I just think this is a mismatch personally.
Yeah, I agree. Sadiq should be. It's too bad that price. Next fight.
I mean, if he wasn't fighting Don Shainis, who would you pair Sadiq with? It'd be a top 10 guy, right?
Yeah.
Sure. So then you're dipping out of the UFC and saying, oh, but he could get no. I just don't think so. I think he's an absolute monster.
Fair enough. Next fight.
This is where he gets caught. He's going to get caught now.
Yeah, that's right. Next fight. Xiaonan Barcelos taking on Trevin 5-Star Jones. Xiaonan Barcelos at one point a prospect. I just think his time in the sun is starting to really fade. He's getting old. And now we're at bantamweight here. Bantamweight, 35 years old. It's running out, taking on the 32-year-old 13-8 Trevin Jones. Not that impressed by him either. Whoever loses this fight is out of the UFC, in my opinion. Vita BJJ for Trevin Jones. 2 straight losses coming into this fight with Saeed Krakhmanov and then Javid Basharat in his last fight. We've seen how good Javid's been looking. Javid really seems to be the real deal. But, I mean, he was able to get nothing going there. I mean, his striking is very kind of inconsistent with terms of the volume and just overall just diversity of the strikes here. I'm a little worried about Trevin. Man, he had the Timur Valiev fight, the Mario Batista fight, but just, I mean,
he won that Timur Valiev fight. Let's just put that there.
Right.
Obviously, no contest. Was it because of weed?
Yeah, it was because of pot. It's just there's just something that's seriously fallen off for Trevin. The last couple, the Krakhmanov fight was bad. The Javid fight, not really competitive here. Barcelos, 16-3. He got old overnight, man. He was that dude against Khalid Taha, that dude against Nurmagomedov, Saeed. He had that win over, and then lost a majority decision to Timur, and then on short notice lost to Victor Henry, and just got absolutely exposed with regards to the gas there. Victor Henry's very good. He was coming off of COVID coming into that fight. Hayoni was. So those are the things.
Victor fought the perfect fight, didn't he? He was outstanding.
Victor earned his way into UFC, and he's got a fight coming up. I'm excited.
Where's he a coach of? He's the striking coach, isn't he?
Yeah, it's California, somewhere in California. Okay. CSW maybe.
Okay. Sorry to put you on the spot there.
But no, it's okay. But either way, which one of these guys is more done? Hayoni Barcelos is old now. He gets slowed down, but Trevin Jones isn't really have the game plan to be able to push the pace and expose here. I think it ends up coming down to kind of a striking affair with this one. For me, I can't trust Trevin Jones. It's Hayoni Barcelos. For me, he just has more ways to win. He's a little more consistent, and when he doesn't get his cardio pushed, he usually has good success. I just don't see Trevin having the game to push it. So give me Hayoni here, but this one is which one of these guys is more done? Again, I think whoever loses is out of the UFC. So you could see a desperate Trevin land a shot, and we've seen it put away 2 guys before. Does it happen again?
That's it. I think Trevin's still really explosive. He has that one shot for this weight class, which is super important. It's the ultimate leveler when these guys fight. But
that's why I picked Guido.
Yeah, exactly. It's similar in sense of they have that one weapon. Trevin's movement is very sloppy. He gets backed up quite easily. I mean, the way to beat Rainey is volume and high pressure. Trevin doesn't do that.
Trevin doesn't do either.
No, exactly. So I think Rainey's going to go at the pace he wants, and you'll see him be like his old self again because it allows him to be his old self. I think Javid Basharat versus Rainey Barcelos would have been a really good fight. You know, that would have been a good one to watch. So I think Rainey wins a pretty clear-cut decision on this one. I think he takes all 3 rounds. Unless he gets arrogant, leaves his hands down, and Trevin just throws that Hail Mary, you know, I think it's clear cut with Barcelos, to be honest with you.
I agree pretty much completely there, and I think the decision is the way I like it. And like you said, when Hayoni can fight his pace, he looks very good. This is a
he does. He looks like a little Edson Barboza, doesn't he?
I mean, he beat Saeed Nurmagomedov by decision because Saeed was low volume, not pushing the pace, and allowed Hayoni to take the fight where he wanted. So, you know, we've seen how Saeed looks now, and you can't discredit a lot of that having to do with how Hayoni fought him in that fight. So, I like Hayoni a lot in this spot. Hayoni and another fighter we'll talk about in a minute are my favorite double up. I already have a bet on this one. Hayoni at minus 225, I think, is definitely take it. I like the decision as well. Next fight on the main card, John Castaneda getting an absolute favor by the UFC, being put against Willie Cat Santos on a main card. They clearly like what they've seen out of John Castaneda. That's what I'll say, because this is an absolute showcase fight for him, in my opinion, here with the skill set and everything. Willie Cat Santos is a wild Muay Thai striker who beats a certain level of competition, but not the UFC's level of competition, in my opinion. 9-2. He's a wildcat, Willie Cat, as he's known. Got pretty much exposed against Julio Arce When Julio Arce is outclassing you in world class, just looking world class, that's a huge red flag to me. I do not rate Julio Arce very highly on that level. I think he beats the guys who aren't UFC level and shows that they aren't. And he did, I think, pretty clearly with Willie Cat. Before that, Willie Cat was throwing spinning back kicks against a 7-1 opponent with future. But again, Henrique Fantini, look into him. He's not that great when you watch his fights and you look into him. So it's a good paper fight. But again, spinning back kick got the finish there. Throws a lot of wild strikes. The Ninsback Zununov fight with Brave was inspiring, but it was in 2019. With the 3 years off, I didn't see the improvements there. I think he's going to be willing to go to the ground. I think he thinks his jiu-jitsu is better than it is. And Castaneda just has that smothering kind of American style grappling. He's out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. A lot of good wrestlers up there. 19-5. He's started to really show, putting together the full game. Okay, he beat Eddie Wineland, sure, but the Miles Johns fight is a fight that really showed me that this guy is legit. He's really taken that next step up. I think he does a similar type of thing here. I think he just overwhelms on the floor and then eventually gets the finish, probably with another arm triangle similar to the Rojo or the Johns fight. So, yeah, I like top control of Castaneda and the submission after he kind of wears him down. But, yeah, the Castaneda, one of my favorites on the card.
Yeah, I mean, I think Castaneda is quite underrated. I mean, he had a very competitive fight with Nathaniel Wood, and you know how I love Nathaniel Wood.
Look how Nathaniel Woods looked.
Yeah, I mean, he's an absolute beast, and he struggled when he couldn't get Nathaniel to the mat. He didn't realize Nathaniel's takedown defense is so high.
He's on pretty short notice, too.
He was on short notice, yeah. But he was training. I know he was training up until that fight because he was looking for those sort of fights to come into. He hadn't been I think that was his debut in the UFC. So
it was.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, I haven't seen a lot of Daniel Santos other than the Julio Arce fight. I haven't actually seen a lot of his skill set, and he didn't really obviously impress in that fight. So from what I know about John Castaneda, I have to bow to your knowledge a little bit here with Santos. But with Castaneda, I know he likes the high volume striking. I know he does the fundamentals very well, which is a nice way of saying you're quite basic, but he pumps a good jab. He moves very well. He kicks your leg out from under you when you step forward. And then any level changes when you throw hooks. That's perfect. It's literally the fundamentals of MMA, beautifully done, and it's given him a very good record. Yeah. I think he's going to be a ranked fighter very soon, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I love this spot. Honestly, another one of my favorites on the card here is Castaneda. He is currently, you can get him for a -195. I think that's pretty spot on there. Santos +165. You get him under -200 right now. I would jump on it. I like them paired up. You could do a quick double up him and Rayoni. I think those two should clear out pretty well. You can put him with Grecian early on the card. You can put him with Jocko. I think any of those spots. But for me, I like Castaneda a lot. He's one of my favorites on the card. So we'll see how I look then. Co-main event time. This is a absolute mismatch to me. I think that this is a showcase fight again. Randy Brown taking on Masara Dumba, also known as Francisco Trinaldo, like 57 years old or something at this point. Fighting it at 170.
Still got it, man. He's still got it.
He's got an 8-inch reach disadvantage coming into this fight. 6-inch height disadvantage coming into this fight. He is 32. We have 32 versus 44, so 12 years on paper coming into this fight. 36 fights, though, for Trinaldo. He's a wily vet. He's still got that power, as we know. He's on a 2-fight win streak here. He's earned this spot. The split decision against Dwight Grant, horrible stuff. I mean, just bad. But the Danny Roberts fight, really was able to get Danny's respect with the power early and, kept a good pace still. I mean, he still gives a very good pace. Seems like not having to cut weight at this point really does help Trinaldo. But, again, the Muslim Salikov fight, I think was kind of more of a sign of how things are going here. Randy Brown, he's going to be way too active in this fight. He's going to be fighting this at a totally different distance than where Trinaldo wants or needs to fight. He's going to be hitting 3 to 4 shots per one of Trinaldo here. He's going to be out-voluming him. I think at times Randy's going to look for the wrestling, maybe to even take him down possibly, but I don't think he'll need to. Randy's just so much better athletically, so much better just in general at this point in their careers. This is a complete mismatch to me. You're trying to give Randy Brown an opportunity to look amazing against another Brazilian. We saw it against Cowboy Oliveira. We saw it against, we saw it against Jared Gooden, and Chaos Williams was that closer type of fight where the volume, is what kept it close. But this is a free betting boost for Randy Brown. He's going to come in here and put away Francisco Trinaldo, and I think Trinaldo retires.
I mean, he still got it. I know that, but I think this fight is going to look very similar to the Jai Herbert one, apart from the finish. Jai Herbert was winning every second of that fight until he got clipped, and he was out cold. Randy Brown, he was hitting Chaos Williams with 4 to 5 shots before Chaos hit him with 1. But again, as I said earlier with the levelers, the power is it. If you're not afraid of Chaos Williams' power, Trinaldo is nothing in comparison. And I know he can crack. I know he's got it in him. But his gas tank is slows dramatically. He kind of just shells up like a Yoel Romero style and just blitz attacks when he feels like it, because he hasn't got that tank that someone like Randy does. Randy, in my opinion, is going to do what he wants to him. Absolutely. This is a complete mismatch in my head as well.
Agreed.
I think Randy Brown by whatever you want to pick.
Yeah, I agree. And the odds are on to it -300 plus 250 on Trinaldo.
I think that's quite generous. Minus 300.
Think it should be wider.
Way wider.
I agree.
When you see some of these fights and how.
So early on in the week, my triple that I bet on initially was Hanny Barcelos, John Castaneda, and Randy Brown. I bet those 3 in a parlay for plus 250.
Yeah.
I just think all of them have such significant advantages over their opponents.
Yeah.
That for me, it's just it's just a no-brainer. Jan winning a close decision, Ron Sizzle says. Really quick, Zhongli. I got your 5-piece parlay right now. So I'll go ahead and put a little timestamp here. Here's the 5-piece parlay for Zhongli that I'll get out of the way, and then we'll go on to the main event. But I like Maxime Grecian to start that off. I just think he's going to just outclass in that position against his opponent there and just get a decision. It's not going to be pretty, but he does it. Chris Jocko, another decision, but I got Jocko there over Brendan Allen. He's just better overall. And then it's the 3 I just mentioned. Raoni Barcelos over Trevin Jones. He's going to fight the fight at his pace, be able to take it. John Castaneda, either a decision or submission. And then, I got Randy Brown over Francisco Trinaldo to bring it home. So
did you not put Yusuf in it?
Nah, not that price. Add him for a 6.
Just because of the price.
Yeah, for a bonus 6, you can add Yusuf. So there's my 6. Maxime Grecian, Chris Jocko, Sadiq Yusuf, Raoni Barcelos, John Castaneda, and Randy Brown. That's my 6-piece money parlay for this week. And now we'll go on to the main event. And by the way, there's an LFA on Friday. So if you like money, tune into that. I'll have the breakdown probably on Wednesday for that, because I'm going to watch Contender Series tomorrow. But main event time, really good main event. Very tough to call, in my opinion. Mackenzie Dern versus Xiaonan should be a really good fight. To me, Mackenzie Dern has the ability to finish this fight at any point in the 5 rounds. And I definitely think that's true. I think that could come back to bite her, because I think Xiaonan is going to win more rounds in this fight. So to me, if you're betting on Mackenzie Dern, I think you might as well bet on the submission finish, in my opinion, because I think that Xiaonan has what it takes to kind of steal a decision in this one. I think it's going to be a very close one, and it comes down to how good is Xiaonan's defensive wrestling for me. 15-3 she is coming into this fight, losing 2 straight fights and getting a main event. That's a concern. Major red flag, and not China. The fights, however, Carla Esparza's never looked better, and completely just took her down and just decimated her. I mean, that was quite a frightening display of lack of defense.
Think how quick Carla moved through her guard.
That's what I'm saying. And then Marina Rodriguez, she didn't have to do that with, so she didn't.
She won that fight. She won that fight.
I know. Well, Marina's my girl, so I'm not gonna.
No, but that's why you can't say it aloud.
I'm not gonna hear any of it. But yeah, Yan Xiaonan, she's been there with Angela Hill, Carolina Kovacevic, Claudia Gadea, Vivian Pereira, and I'm Ian Kondo and Kieran. But overall, she's had a good run in her career, 5 of 7. Last couple, she's definitely had that step up in competition. The way that Carla went through that guard and everything, that is Mackenzie Dern's absolute dream. She has 25 minutes to do it. Wouldn't surprise me if until she does it, she's losing a lot of these rounds to Dern or to Yan. Would not surprise me at all. But I think eventually, I just don't think that Yan has the power and the grappling acumen to keep Dern off. And I think over the 25 minutes, Dern wears her down, gets her down, and gets the submission. I just think that there's levels to this. What Carla was able to do, I think Mackenzie's able to do. I get that Jan's had to have been working on that at all times. If it's much improved and she can avoid getting that situation in more than 2 rounds, then Yan can steal one, but I can't get behind it. I got to go with Mackenzie Dern here, and I think she does break through and get a submission. So Mackenzie Dern by submission, I'm not going to overthink it. The Tisha Torres fight definitely, was a statement to be able to go to the decision there. It was a very close fight, but I do think Mackenzie, lost it personally. But I do. But I was also at the fight, so
she nearly snapped her arm 3 different times.
But other than that, I mean,
there's no way Tisha Torres won that fight in my head.
How many strikes did Mackenzie land in the entire fight?
It was a grappler v striker, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tisha didn't even touch her either.
And so, but that's what encourages me is that Mackenzie's not in love with her striking. She doesn't have Jorge Gurgel syndrome. Even if you have her winning that last fight, I'm fine with it being a split. I do that's what I'm saying. But I actually find that encouraging because it will show that Mackenzie will stick with the grappling here against Yan. She just needs to not get into karate, point match type of spot. So I think over 25 minutes, Dern gets it down and then gets a submission.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about 25 minutes and how many opportunities there are going to be, when she jumped, how Brian Ortega jumped on Cub Swanson, just jumping for a standing Kimura. Like, she doesn't need you on the ground. She will just get you to the ground by threatening anything.
Get your back and fall back into the guard, whatever.
I don't think people understand how good she is on the ground and the high level of jiu-jitsu she actually has. It is silly how good she is when it hits the mat. Her wrestling is the one thing where I'm like, come on, you got to improve your takedowns now, because Xiaonan Yan chances by submission. I don't think that guy's watched any fight by that comment.
That has to be a troll comment.
That has to be a troll comment. Yeah. I mean, Yan she's not a decision machine, but she kind of is.
Yes, she is.
Yes, I don't want to label it as that
which is fine. I'm fine with a decision machine over 25 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, her gas tank looked. I mean, against Marina, I have her winning that fight. I think she looks superb.
I don't think they're giving Yan Xiaonan a main event after 2 straight losses.
That's bizarre, but I think it's more because of Mackenzie, and it's just pairing Mackenzie with someone.
And end of the year cards. I mean, look at the end of the year, these cards.
Yeah. I mean, I think Mackenzie is going to probably, as you say, lose the rounds she doesn't finish the fight in, but I think she'll finish the fight. I think Yan has fought one grappler that is very high level in jiu-jitsu, which is Claudia Gadea, and that was at the end of her days when she looked a broken human and didn't even bother to use takedowns ever again after the Joanna second fight. She couldn't be bothered again, and she just went completely downhill. Dern, she's a wizard. She's got her weight on check. She's at the best camp she can be. She's with Perillo. I mean, she's just got everyone around her. She's training with Cheeto and all these guys like around her all the time.
It. Yeah, I think the Dern submission is a prop I could possibly be laying some money down on.
Yeah.
Minus 225 Mackenzie Dern is overall, plus 190 on Yan.
If Yan can stop some takedowns, it'll give her some confidence to unload. But I think she might be a bit hesitant to unload some strikes if she's worried about just Mackenzie's going to pull guard. She'll just clinch up and pull. That's all she's going to do. She could just sweep her and get
this
top
should
game
be
onto a top
should
game.
be an interesting one. This card is interesting. Really quick. I'll go through the quick picks and then we're gonna call it a day here. But yeah, we'll go through the card really quick. Give our overall thoughts. I gave the money line parlay a little bit ago around the hour 12 mark. If you want to go back to that, but starting at the bottom, Jessica Penne, Tabitha Ricci. I got Penne by decision, split decision.
I got Ricci by decision.
All right, split play. I would play on that one if you're going to bet anything. Otherwise, leave it alone. Alexia Olynyk versus OLeary Latifi. I got Olynyk by decision.
Olynyk by submission for me, but yeah.
Fair. I just don't think he has a neck, and I think OLeary is strong enough to like keep out of an arm lock. I'm going to just completely misunderstood jiu-jitsu right now.
Yeah, strength don't have nothing to do with it.
I know. Maxine Grecian versus Felipe Lins. Give me Maxine Grecian. I just think he keeps a steady pace, mixes it up, and cruises to a decision.
I think he's going to knock him out.
Nice.
I'd
be fine with either. Next fight, a fight I didn't have much to say about, and I still don't have much to say about. I'll take Joaquin Silva by decision.
Yeah, Joaquin Silva.
All right. Julia Orenko versus Chelsea Chandler. You know what? Give me Julia Orenko by submission.
I'll go by decision for Julia as well.
Okay. Armbar specifically. Brendan Allen versus Jocko. Give me Jocko by decision.
Jocko all day.
Yep. Randy Costa versus Guido Canetti. Give me Guido first round KO.
Agree with you. Guido first round or bust.
Woof. Next fight, Mike Davis versus Vladislav Borisov. Fight of the night here. I got Mike Davis mixing it up on the Mark Diakese game plan decision.
Because of the short notice, I'm going to go with Mike Davis as well.
Nice. Good one there. Sadiq Youssef versus Don Shameless. Sadiq Youssef by whatever he wants.
I agree.
All right. Henry Barcelos versus Trevin 5-Star Jones. Give me Henry Barcelos because he doesn't have anybody forcing him to keep a pace he doesn't want to keep. So looks like the underground king.
Yeah, I'm going to decision with Rainey.
Yeah, I agree. John Castaneda versus Daniel Santos. John Castaneda, he is one of my favorites on the card. I'll say it again. I think he gets a submission win, similar arm triangle type of finish with the wrestling, maybe ground and pound.
Exactly what I was thinking. Arm triangle.
Yep. He's gotten his last 2 wins are by arm triangle. Would not surprise me. Again, Randy Brown versus Francisco Trinaldo. Another one of my favorites. Randy Brown, absolute physical mismatch here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then Mackenzie Dern versus Xiaonan. I'm definitely nervous about Jan stealing rounds, winning a decision here, but I'm going to take Dern by submission.
Yeah, Dern by submission.
All right. And that is going to do it for this card. It's all over the place. We got the Contender Series picks at the beginning, but we got through it. Again, later in the week, I will be back with the LFA breakdown with Lucky Locks for this week as well. LFA is money. We got a one card that I'll think about making a video for. They're on Prime now, so they are more available for betting, but that's going to do it. The circus is definitely in town this weekend, Moise, so get the carousel ready. Check out Norton MMA. He is back. You want to tell people a little bit about the channel and what's been going on?
Yeah, just making some new videos, different kind of videos, slightly. There'll be a lot more for 280 and 281 over the next 10 days, I think. So they're going to be uploaded probably a month in advance based on work schedules, unfortunately. There won't be 5 a week anymore. But it if you want a specific one, hit me up. I can still make it.
Yep, and if anybody's ever interested in getting on, let Lewis know. He's always welcoming more people who want to get their feet wet in this game. You don't have to have a channel or anything. Don't be shy. He works with me, so he'll work with anybody. But anyways, that's going to do it. Contender Series at the beginning of the video, was able to watch the weigh-ins before giving my thoughts on those. It did shift a few of those there. Bo Nickal wins tonight. Well, it's tomorrow, Justin. It's not tonight, so just a little update there. But tomorrow, Bo Nickal wins, and he's going to UFC 280. Maybe they'll put him against Parker Porter. Who knows? But that's going to do it for the breakdown show. Timestamps are going to be up. Keep taking care of each other out there. Check out Norton MMA. Check out Lewis over there on his channel. Thanks, everybody. Peace.